Welcome to our channel. In this video we will review some facts about Nigeria. But before we start, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for future updates. Nigeria, located in West Africa, is now one of the continent's main nations. It possesses one of Africa's largest and fastest growing economies, as well as the most varied population of any African country. At the same time, the country is still struggling to emerge from the shadow of its deadly history. Nigeria's name has its own history. In 1897, British journalist Flora Shaw coined the name Nigeria after the Niger River, which passes through the country. The river's name derives from the Tuareg name for it, Egeruen Egeruen, given to it by the locals before the 19th century. However, when and who originally adopted the name Niger to refer to the river, which subsequently shared its name with the country of Nigeria, is unknown. The highest point in Nigeria is Chapel Wadi. Chapel Wadi, at 2.42 kilometers above sea level, is not only Nigeria's highest point, but also Africa's third tallest peak. Only Mount Cameroon in the same country and Emi Kusi in Chad are taller than Chapel Wadi. Chapel Wadi is part of the Bamenda Adamawa Mandara mountain system, which stretches through Nigeria and adjacent Cameroon. The mountain is located in the Mambila Plateau in Nigeria's Taraba state, close to the border with Cameroon. It is also included in the Gashaka-Gumti Forest Reserve and the Gashaka-Gumti National Park. The climate of Nigeria is variable. The country's southernmost region features a tropical rainforest climate with up to 2 meters of rain each year. However, the majority of the country has a savanna climate, with an average of 1 meter of rain per year. The savanna's status fluctuates from south to north, with tall grass dominated by scattered groves of trees in southern Nigeria. Central Nigeria, on the other hand, is characterized by short grass on the savanna, as well as shorter trees. Finally, in northeastern Nigeria, the savanna shows only as patches of grass breaking up a sandy environment. In actuality, the country's northernmost region is part of the Sahara Desert and receives no more than 500 millimeters of rain every year. The country also boasts a diverse ecosystem. Mangroves thrive throughout southern Nigeria's beaches, with virgin rainforest running deep inland. This region is also the natural home of the drill primate, which it shares with neighboring Cameroon's border territories. The area surrounding Calabar City in Nigeria's Cross River State also features the world's most diversified butterfly population. The savanna of Nigeria is also home to a diverse range of blooming plants, including moneyworts and rattlepods. Humans can consume some of them, but the majority are gathered as cattle fodder. The spurge family of plants is especially popular in Nigeria, where it is used to treat ailments such as gastroenteritis and malaria, among others. Today, the Nigerian environment confronts numerous risks. The Sahara Desert is slowly but steadily growing into northern Nigeria as a result of desertification caused by global warming. Water scarcity also threatens Lake Chad in the country's northeast, which is exacerbated by changing weather patterns. Climate change is also threatening the lake's water supplies, which might cause it to dry up. Land development and deforestation have had a significant impact on the rainforests even in southern Nigeria, far from the Sahara Desert. Invasive species were also introduced into the country as a result of European colonization, posing a threat to the natural environment. However, experts are still unsure how many invasive species have succeeded in Nigeria. The oil sector has also contaminated the delta of the Niger River, which has been exacerbated by other forms of water pollution from the country's businesses. Similarly, the country's mining industry has contaminated local water systems with lead waste and other heavy metals. Humans have been present in Nigeria since 11,000 BC. It is still unknown how they got there. Nevertheless, archaeological evidence at Isarun indicates a human presence in Nigeria around 11,000 BC. Other evidence implies that they may have resided in the area where modern Okigwe presently exists much earlier. Nonetheless, experts are still unsure and are investigating the latter idea. Additional archaeological evidence points to the development of stone toolmaking and pottery in Nigeria during the 4th millennium BC. Farming settlements appear to have developed across the country at the same time. Later, around the 2nd century BC, Nigeria entered the Iron Age. Pre-colonial Nigeria was ruled by a number of kingdoms. The Nok civilization, which ruled Nigeria from 1500 BC to 200 AD, has already been mentioned. The Nok disappeared at that period, although circumstantial evidence shows that the Bini of Benin are descended from the Nok. The Nri kingdom would rise later in 900 AD, and historians believe it to be the first authentic Nigerian nation. They were later challenged by the Benin and Igala empires beginning in the 15th century. The Edo Kingdom, which was the first to encounter Europeans in the 16th century, is another Nigerian nation. The Yoruba ruled the Niger River's west bank, while Hausa states such as Gao and Kanam dominated northern Nigeria. In the 16th century, Kanam in particular would become a hub of Islamic study and culture. From the 16th century onward, Europeans increased the Nigerian slave trade. With the trans-Saharan slave trade, slavery existed in Nigeria as early as the 1st century BC. Slaves from all over sub-Saharan Africa would be transported across the desert to North Africa, not just West Africa. They would be sold there to customers from the great Mediterranean civilizations such as Egypt, Greece, and Rome. Even after the fall of Rome, the commerce remained and expanded in the 16th century. Slaves would now be purchased from coastal ports by Portuguese and other Europeans and shipped to Europe and North America. The new transatlantic slave trade peaked in the 18th century, only to be outlawed in Europe by the end of the same century. Nigeria was colonized by the British in stages. British operations in Nigeria began with significant efforts to abolish the slave trade. This included not only Royal Navy patrols to stop slave ships, but also local economic diversification measures. The British anticipated that this would provide people with alternate sources of income, preventing them from selling their fellow citizens to slavers. After the British assisted the anti-slavery Oba Akitoye in defeating the pro-slavery Oba Kosoko, this resulted in the establishment of the Lagos colony. The Royal Niger Company was established in 1886 to manage Britain's economic interests in the country. From 1902 to 1906, British armies in northern Nigeria defeated the Sokoto Caliphate. Finally, in 1914, the United Kingdom combined its protectorates in northern and southern Nigeria into a single state. Nigeria's British colonization was ultimately completed. The British policy toward Nigeria evolved throughout time. Britain began with a British colonial administration that assigned administrative duties to local governors. These governors were always backed by the local elites, which included Muslim emirs in the north and tribal rulers in the south. The British then established a governing council for the colony, comprised of local authorities, in 1916. While they had to defer to the governor's final decisions in practice, the council did give them a say in governing. Aside from politics, the British improved local infrastructure, including new ports, roads, and even trains. They also attempted to diversify the local economy, including new food crops and tin mining, among other things. And, beginning in the 1920s, the British began to attempt to liberalize colonial society. This entailed minimizing Western influence while empowering local elites. In order to foster a secular society, they also implemented public education and curtailed the influence of religious leaders. The Spanish flu devastated Nigeria. In 1918, ships sailing through Nigeria's ports brought the Spanish flu with them. It swiftly spread across the coastal districts and into the interior via the colonial transportation system. According to statistics, up to 1.5% of Nigeria's population at the time contracted the sickness. An estimated 500,000 would die as a result of the sickness. The outbreak also resulted in the British adopting drastic measures to control the spread of the disease and reduce the fatality rate. Among these were experiments with traditional African medicine. They also established a quarantine, restricting movement to those with government-issued travel passes. Other initiatives included mandatory sanitary improvements, with colonial officials even going door-to-door to verify if Nigerian residents were complying. Nigerian nationalism expanded steadily beginning in the 1920s. They did, however, reflect the colony's religious and cultural division. The British had developed a policy of administrative assistance for local emirs in northern Nigeria. However, by the 1920s, that approach had given rise to nationalist aspirations founded on Islamic principles of religious validity. Meanwhile, Western cultural influences had fared far better in southern Nigeria. Southern nationalists, ironically, rejected colonial control on the grounds that it failed to respect and accept native cultures and lifestyles. In 1929, Nigeria had the Women's War. It all started when thousands of women from eastern Nigeria demonstrated against colonial regulations, particularly the so-called warrant chiefs. Pre-colonial Nigerian women had equal possibilities with men and may hold positions of leadership. The colonial authority established a more rigorous leadership, including warrant chiefs, under the British. These were males appointed to the office of chief by the colonial authority, frequently when no native men and only women were available. Nigerian ladies were furious, and they protested by sitting in public areas. When negotiations failed, the colonial police and soldiers were dispatched to restore order. This sparked an outbreak of violence, with over 50 people killed. Despite the setbacks, the protests were ultimately successful. Following World War II, Britain gradually handed Nigeria self-government. Nigerians fought for the Allies in World War II, which helped to raise national consciousness among them. During the war, labor in Nigeria was also massively organized in order to better serve the war effort. As a result of people from various tribes, nationalities, and religions fighting or working together, the country became more united. Britain, for its part, had little interest in fighting to maintain colonial power after the war, having paid a tremendous price in terms of money and troops to win. This resulted in the 1946 Constitution of Nigeria, which enhanced the size and jurisdiction of the Legislative Council. Then, in 1957, they granted self-government to western and eastern Nigeria, followed by northern Nigeria in 1959. Finally, in 1960, Britain granted Nigeria complete independence. Several events contributed to the outbreak of the Nigerian Civil War. One of these entailed tribal divisions and jealousies, which were exacerbated by the fact that tribes did not reside in homogeneous areas. Instead, people of various tribes were dispersed around the country, which exposed them to and magnified ethnic issues. Another factor was politics, such as the choice to make Lagos the colonial capital. The Yoruba dominated Lagos, infuriating other tribes with their apparent favoritism. A different plan, to designate Lagos a no-land man's where all tribes may meet amicably, enraged the Yoruba. Economics was another aspect that contributed to the Civil War, since some tribes appeared to profit more than others. During colonial times, this wasn't a problem because the British simply assumed direct control of the most lucrative resources and businesses. However, as certain tribes became wealthier than others due to economic circumstances, animosity arose, contributing to civil conflict. During the war, numerous war crimes were committed. During the battle, Nigerian government forces expressly declared hunger as a weapon and deployed it against the Biafra rebels. They not only halted food shipments to the rebels, but they also halted medical supplies. At the height of the war in 1968, statistics claimed that up to 10,000 people per day died from famine or sickness. The Nigerian military also intentionally bombed or machine-gunned people in rebel-held territory. The Biafra insurgents also committed war crimes, particularly against members of other ethnic groups. The Igbo dominated the Biafra rebels, who perpetrated mass executions based on fear and hatred of other ethnicities, usually by collecting them up and leaving them to starve in internment camps. On the other side of the Civil War, both factions perpetrated widespread rape against women. During the Nigerian Civil War, foreign governments took conflicting viewpoints. During the conflict, the British provided financial and military support to the Nigerian government. In exchange, the Nigerian military ensured the safety of the British-owned oil fields. The Soviet Union, as well as Israel and Egypt, backed the Nigerian government. China and France, on the other hand, backed the Biafra insurgents and provided them with money and supplies. The United States declared itself neutral, but diplomatically expressed sympathy for the Biafran insurgents. Even U.S. President Richard Nixon would attack Nigeria's administration and its international backers for denying Biafra the right to self-determination. He also tried, but failed, to advocate for a diplomatic end to the civil war. During the Nigerian Civil War, the media played an early role. Similarly to the Vietnam War, journalists on the ground during the civil battle captured numerous images and reports of the war's devastation. They then broadcast them for all to see, provoking uproar in countries that supported Nigeria's leadership. In Europe, photographic proof of Biafran war crimes against civilians prompted allegations of genocide and even analogies to the Holocaust. Biafra also took advantage of this, particularly their Christian majority against the Nigerian government's Muslim majority. This drew sympathy from the Western public, particularly in Ireland, where the war and British support for the Nigerian government drew parallels to Ireland's own struggle for independence. Protests were held in front of the UN offices in the United States, and John Lennon of the Beatles returned his honours from the British monarchy in protest of Britain's support for the Nigerian government. The Nigerian Civil War had an uneven impact on the country. Nigeria appeared to prosper quickly after the war, owing to a growth in the oil business. However, due to corruption, only the higher classes and the British reaped the benefits of the oil boom. A military junta, led by General Yakubu Gowon, also maintained control of the government. Another way in which the country's economy deteriorated was that it grew overly reliant on the oil industry. Small industries stalled during this period, while Nigeria's national infrastructure grew antiquated and, in certain cases, too limited due to a lack of development. The military regime of Nigeria ended in 1977. Even yet, it was the outcome of 2 years of near anarchy, beginning with the 1975 coup that brought down the Gowon dictatorship. Murtala Muhammad, Olusegun Obasanjo, and Theophilus Danjuma, a trio of generals, gained power. Colonel Bukar Dimka led another coup in 1976, killing General Muhammad but ultimately failing and forcing the rogue colonel into exile. General Shehu Yar'Adua succeeded General Muhammad, and the junta convened a constituent assembly in 1977 to design a new constitution. This resulted in elections in 1979, with Shehu Shagari becoming the second Nigerian Republic's first president. Modern Nigeria continues to face many difficulties. In Nigeria today, ethnic rivalry and tribal prejudices are still big challenges. Religious tensions persist between the Muslim North and the Christian South. Corruption is also a problem in the country, with studies suggesting that it has cost Nigeria $200 billion since independence. Nigeria also has the scars of civil conflict and military dictatorships. International monitors are closely monitoring Nigerian elections, as historians debate whether large killings of civilians on both sides of the civil conflict constitute genocide. The current Nigerian administration is modeled after the U.S. government. Similarly to the United States, Nigeria's president serves as both the head of state and the head of government. In addition, the Nigerian president, like the U.S. president, can be elected for up to 2 4-year terms. Muhammad Buhari presently occupies the position, having been elected twice in 2015 and 2019. Nigeria has a National Assembly, which is similar to the U.S. Congress and is divided into the Senate and the House of Representatives. Again, similar to the United States, Nigeria has a Supreme Court that has the final say on judicial affairs in the country. Nigeria's contemporary military has a mixed reputation. The Nigerian military began as a well-trained force comprised of World War II veterans. However, upon independence, Nigerians rapidly expanded the military, causing its quality to suffer. During the decades of military dictatorship, the military also served to enforce the regime's authority rather than to defend the country. However, with the restoration of democracy, the Nigerian military has won respect by participating in many UN peacekeeping missions. These include Liberia in 1997, Ivory Coast from 1997 to 1999, and Sierra Leone over the same time period. Today, the military's most pressing issues are modernization and the replacement of lost equipment. Nigeria's habit of purchasing military equipment from several sources, in particular, has complicated the solution to their concerns. The country's economy has a mixed reputation as well. On the one hand, as previously said, Nigeria boasts the largest economy on the African continent. However, Nigeria's economy suffers from a number of challenges, one of which we already noted. Specifically, in the late 20th century, the country grew overly reliant on oil exports, at the expense of other businesses. While Nigeria has sought to address this issue, its ramifications remain. The country's economy is also plagued by corruption and inefficiency. Inequality of income remains a serious concern, particularly in rural areas. Nigerian agriculture used to be self-sufficient in food. Agricultural items were Nigeria's principal exports before the oil sector surpassed them. Even now, it is believed that it employs 30% of the country's workers. However, the post-Civil War population explosion was much too much for the agricultural industry to handle. The increasing use of synthetic fertilizers aided, but it was insufficient in the end. Today, the country relies on food imports to sustain its people, with cash crops such as cocoa and rubber accounting for the majority of agricultural exports. Cashew, cassava, corn, millet, rice, soybeans, and yams are among the other significant crops farmed in Nigeria. Nigeria has also limited rice imports beginning in 2019, with the hope of stimulating domestic output by limiting foreign competition. The oil industry remains one of the most important sectors of the Nigerian economy. Nigeria is the only African country that generates 2.53 million barrels of oil and gas per day. In fact, scientists believe Nigeria might produce even more oil than it does now, potentially reaching 3 million barrels per day. 1 million barrels per day are estimated to be exported to the United States, accounting for 40% of Nigeria's total exports. This also accounts for about 9% of U.S. oil and gas imports. This has come at a cost, and not just in terms of the country's economy developing unevenly. With up to 13 million barrels of oil spilt during the 1950s, the oil industry has harmed the country's ecosystem. This has wiped out an estimated 10% of Nigeria's mangroves and contaminated Niger Delta water supplies. In fact, onlookers have reported seeing a thin layer of oil floating like a film on top of the river in the Delta region. In contrast, the Nigerian mining industry is in a state of underdevelopment. Ironically, coal mining in Nigeria predates the oil business, dating back to 1909, when the country was under British control. The coal mines were abandoned due to the beginning of civil war, and the post-war oil boom meant that the coal industry had little motivation to return. However, in recent years, countries such as the United Kingdom, China, and Italy have showed interest in Nigeria's coal resources. Nigeria possesses gold, niobium, tantalum, and tungsten minerals in addition to coal. Uranium and gemstones, including as amethyst, aquamarine, emerald, garnet, ruby, sapphire, and topaz, are also found in Nigeria. Today, Nigeria's telecommunications sector is rapidly expanding. In fact, it is one of the world's fastest growing, rising from 1% of the country's GDP in 2001 to 10% in 2018. Lagos is one of Africa's primary tech hubs, home to firms such as Nine Mobile, Airtel, Globacom, and Mountain, among others. According to statistics, the country has at least 23.5 million radio sets and more than 200 radio stations. The federal government alone operates at least 70 television stations, while each state has its own television station in addition to numerous private television stations. According to statistics, the country has 56.9 million televisions, 350,000 wired telephone lines, and over 200 million cellular connections. Experts believe that 60% of all Nigerians now own cell phones, and that number is increasing with each passing year. Nigeria has a thriving tourism industry as well. It generates an estimated $1 billion each year and accounts for 6% of the country's GDP. However, the tourist business faces its own set of challenges, namely the country's ailing public utilities and infrastructure. Tourists typically visit Nigeria to visit its numerous national and public parks, such as the Yankari National Park in Bauchi State. Every year, travelers flock to the cities for annual events such as the Festac Food Fair, the Ayo Festival, and the Lagos Black Heritage Festival, among others. Other prominent tourist destinations in the country are Abudu Mountain Resort and Abeno Beach. Manufacturing takes place in Nigeria as well. Several Nigerian cities including Abeokuta, Kano, Lagos, and Onitsha, serve as textile industry hubs. Enosan Vehicle Manufacturing, a Nigerian automotive company, manufactures buses and SUVs for local customers in Nnewi. Peugeot, a French automaker, as well as the General Motors-owned truck company Bedford and Nissan, all have a presence in Nigeria. Since 2013, when the government restricted imports, Nigeria's automobile sector have grown. This encouraged Nigerians to purchase locally manufactured vehicles, which became less expensive as a result of reduced competition from foreign manufacturers. Plastics and processed food are two other products manufactured in Nigeria for both export and domestic markets. Nigeria also has its own indigenous electronics company, Zinox, which manufactures PCs as well as tablet devices. Nigeria recently shown an interest in nuclear energy. This dates back to 2004, when China assisted Nigeria in the construction of an experimental nuclear reactor at Ahmadu Bello University. Nigeria has also asked the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, to back a plan to construct reactors capable of producing up to 4,000 megawatts of energy by 2027. Nigeria approached the Russian nuclear company Rosatom in 2015 for additional assistance in developing its nuclear industry. The Nigerian government publicly stated plans to identify 2 sites for future nuclear reactors the same year. At 2017, the Nigerian government unveiled the final designs for a nuclear reactor in Itu, Akwa Ibom State. The transportation infrastructure in Nigeria has a mixed reputation. As previously stated, Nigeria's public infrastructure suffers from both obsolescence and a limited ability to meet the needs of the country. Today, the country has an estimated 194,000 kilometers of road, but only 60,000 kilometers of that is concrete and asphalt. The remaining 134,000 kilometers of road are dirt roads. Nonetheless, efforts are underway to modernize and expand the country's transportation infrastructure. Some of them, such as the Lagos-Kano standard gauge railway in northern Nigeria, have already been completed. It is approximately 1,300 kilometers long and connects the cities of Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, Kaduna, and Kano. Nigeria also has 54 airports in operation, 5 of which are international. These include the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, which serves Abuja, and the Murtala Muhammed International Airport, which serves Lagos. Despite government efforts to improve them, Nigeria's airports currently have poor service and safety records. Nigeria has a tiny space program. While Nigeria does not have its own launch capabilities, it can create and build its own satellites. They launched their own satellite, NIGCOMSAT-1, in 2003, utilizing a Chinese rocket from China's Xichang Satellite Launch Center. It was also Africa's first communications satellite, and it operated until 2008, when a solar panel breakdown forced the spacecraft to shut down permanently. In the same year, Nigeria launched NIGERIASAT-1 as part of the Global Disaster Monitoring Constellation system, this time from Russia and utilizing a Russian rocket. Nigeria later replaced NIGCOMSAT-1 with NIGCOMSAT-1R in 2011, and in 2013, Nigeria EDISAT-1 nanosatellite was launched from the International Space Station in collaboration with the Japanese. The ethnic makeup of the country is extremely diverse. Although there are over 200 ethnic groupings in Nigeria, an estimated 60% of Nigerians belong to one of 3 major ethnic groups: the Hausa Fulani of northern Nigeria, the Yoruba of western Nigeria, and the Igbo of eastern Nigeria, in particular. In addition to indigenous peoples, numerous immigrants dwell in Nigeria, primarily in big cities and coastal areas. These include Americans, British, Chinese, Greeks, Indians, Japanese, even Lebanese and Syrians. After fleeing the Cuban Revolution, a small number of Cuban exiles landed in Nigeria. The towns also have distinct groups of Saro and Amaro peoples, who are descended from ex-slaves who fled to Nigeria in the mid-19th century. The Saro originated in Sierra Leone, whilst the Amaro originated in Brazil. The country is dominated by a few significant languages. Despite claims that doing so perpetuates Nigeria's colonial history, English remains the country's official language. However, the administration continues to utilize English rather than a native language in order to prevent being perceived as favoring one ethnic community over another. French is the most commonly spoken foreign language in Nigeria, owing to France's colonization of nearby countries in the past. The rest of Nigeria's major languages are all from one of Africa's 3 major language families. Among these are the Niger-Congo languages, which are spoken by the Igbo, Ijaw, and Yoruba, among others. Kanuri is a Nilo-Saharan language that predominates in northeastern Nigeria. Finally, the Hausa language is a member of the Afro-Asiatic language family. Nigeria has an excellent healthcare system. With the Bamako Initiative in 1987, Nigeria reformed its healthcare system. Nigerians now have a choice between a 3-tiered government healthcare system and private healthcare providers. The government's approach to healthcare is community-centered, with the goal of improving access to medicines and other medical services. The success is visible in Nigeria's HIV/AIDS rate, which averages 1.5%, far lower than in other African countries. Nigeria currently has an average longevity of 54 years, which is significantly longer than its neighbors. Although 71% of Nigerians have access to clean water, just 39% have access to modern sanitation. Nigeria has an infant mortality rate of 74 deaths per 1,000 births as of 2019. Nigerians have made significant contributions to post-colonial African literature. Wole Soyinka, the first African to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature, and Chinua Achebe are among their lead authors. Things Fall Apart, written by Achebe and published in 1958, has since been hailed as Africa's single most popular bestseller in history. Ken Saro-Wiwa, who was framed for the murder of Ogoni tribal chiefs in 1995, is another Nigerian author. As a result, he was subjected to a rigged trial and executed by the military regime at the time. Among the most well-known contemporary Nigerian novelists are Adaobi Trisha in Warbani, Chris Abani, and Sefi Atta. Nigerian food offers distinct flavors. Nigerians use palm oil or groundnut oil to make sauces and soups, which are flavored with herbs and spices. Chili peppers are a major element in Nigerian cuisine, where they are utilized to make extremely hot meals. Barbecues and fried meals can be obtained and purchased in great quantities not just in Nigerian markets but also at roadside booths. Today, various sports are prominent in Nigeria. Football is considered Nigeria's national sport, and the country has its own Premier League. Nigeria's national football team, the Super Eagles, has participated in 6 World Cups, in 1994, 1998, 2002, 2010, 2014, and 2018. In addition, they won the African Cup of Nations in 1980, 1994, and 2013. They also made history by becoming the first African team to win an Olympic gold medal in 1996. Basketball and cricket are other prominent sports in Nigeria, with the country ranked as the top African country in men's basketball by FIBA. In 2018, Nigeria made sports history by becoming the first African country to qualify for the bobsled event at the 23 Winter Olympics. The country also has a thriving music and film industries. West African music styles such as Afrobeat, highlife, and palm wine are popular in Nigeria. Afrobeat, in particular, combines traditional Nigerian music with American genres such as jazz and soul to form a new genre. The juju genre, which combines Western percussion with traditional Yoruba music, is also from Nigeria. It rose to international prominence thanks to musicians such as King Sunny Ade, one of the first African pop musicians to become an international icon. The Nigerian film industry has also surpassed the Indian film industry in terms of the number of films produced each year. This has earned it a nickname, similar to how the Indian film business is popularly referred to as Bollywood. Specifically, Nollywood from Nigeria and Hollywood. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel, since we will be covering a lot of similar content in the future. Till next time, stay curious.